Please turn on your videos so that we can interact well. And today we are going to learn from Nitinji about what are our obligatory duties and do they change with time. So I hand over it to Nitinji for that.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Sandhya. Thank you, Padmaniji and Gayatriji for the wonderful session, telling us that bhakti is the surest, smartest, fastest way of attaining God. So today we are going to learn from Lord Krishna, okay, not me. I'm going to facilitate it. Tell what Lord Krishna is talking about, the concept of the duties that are obligatory on us. And is it something that is a function of time and the station which we are in at any given point in time? My audio is okay, Sandhya? Everyone? All right, good. So let's get started with our opening prayers and then we'll get really deep into that topic of discussion. So let me share my screen and we will get started with our opening prayers.
It's already a hand raised. I don't know if that is intentional, Kumarji.
That's a question a little too early, but yeah, I'm happy to take that.
Or maybe it's gone, I guess.
All right.
Yeah.
No worries. So let's get started with our opening prayers. Welcome again, everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful start to your day and had a great day if you're here in US. Let's get started. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Ishwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurue Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Tam Suchanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagatgurum Krishnam Vande Jagatgurum. All right, so today I picked up shloka. I know we are on 411. I have not forgotten it in case you're wondering. But since we were having a discussion on charity for the last few days, very important topic, we'll conclude it with what Lord Krishna is talking about, the other two siblings of charity. That is something which everybody should do, even the wise people, is what Lord Krishna is saying. And that is where we will dovetail into a discussion around what are the obligatory duties and how do these fit in the grand scheme of things. So let's pick up chapter 18 verse 7 today, and I'm going to recite it and then you're welcome to follow. Niyatasya tu sannyasah karmano nopapadyate mohatasya parityagah tamasa parikirtitah. All right.
Ashutosh ji, Radhe Radhe.
That was quick, Ashutosh ji. Very nice. Okay.
Niyatasya tu sannyasah karmano nopapadyate mohatasya parityaga tamasah parikirtitah.
Very nice, Ashutosh ji. Radhe Radhe. Are you practicing Sanskrit these days or shlokas on your own?
While reading Gita only, in some
Very
classes
nice.
also.
Very nice. You've really picked up well. Wonderful. Great progress. Sorry about that. Yes, let's take. I can see a few more hands. Radhe Radhe, Dinesh ji.
Radhe Radhe. Niyatasya tu sannyasa karmano nopapadyate mohatasya parityaga tamasa parikirtita.
Very nice.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Lakshmi ji, Radhe Radhe.
Yeah. Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe Radhe.
Niyatasya tu sannyasah कर्मणो नोपपाद्यते मोहात् तामसः परिकीर्तितः.
Thank you, Lakshmi ji. Your voice was breaking
Thank
a
you.
little bit,
Yeah.
so maybe some problem.
Yeah. I'm in journey. That's why it's not clear.
Okay. All right. I know you are usually traveling around this time. Very nice. Thank you. Okay. Let's take a few more hands.
Rahul ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Rahul ji.
तस्य तु संन्यास कर्मणो नोपद्यते मोहतस्य परित्यागस् तमसा परिकीर्तितः.
Very nice, Rahul. Okay. Do we have anybody else?
Yeah, Pragi ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Pragi ji.
नियतस्य तु संन्यासा कर्मणो नोपपद्यते मोहातस्य परित्यागा तामसा परिकीर्तिता.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Pragi ji.
Thank you.
Uday ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Uday ji.
राधे राधे.
Radhe.
नियतस्तु संन्यासः कर्मणो नोपपद्यते मोहात् तस्य परित्यागस्तामसः परिकीर्तितः.
Very nice, Viji. So parityagaha. So whenever small sa comes, it's usually a sandhi between two words. So it's parityagaha, tamasaha, parikirtita. Very nice. Okay, we can take 3 more hands.
Riya ji, Radhe Radhe.
राधे राधे. नियतस्य तु संन्यासः कर्मणो नोपपद्यते मोहातस्य परित्यागः तामसा परिकीर्तितः.
Very nice,
Radhe
Riya
Radhe.
ji. Radhe Radhe. We can take 2 more hands and then we will get started.
Sam ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Sam ji.
राधे राधे. नियतस्य तु संन्यासो कर्मणो नोपपद्यते मोहात् तस्य परित्यागस्य तामसा परिकीर्तितः. राधे राधे.
Nice, Sam ji. Radhe Radhe. Let's take the last one then.
Rupa ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Rupa ji.
राधे एवरीवन.
Radhe Radhe.
नियतस्य तु संन्यासः कर्मणो नोपपद्यते मोहात् तस्य परित्यागः तामसः परिकीर्तितः.
Very nice, Rupa ji. Radhe Radhe. All right, so let's get started. 18.7, we're talking about the word niyatasya. That means of prescribed duties. Tu means but. Sannyasa means renunciation. Karmana, actions. Na, never. Upapadyate, to be performed. Mohat, deluded. Tasya, of that. Parityagaha, renunciation. Tamasa, in the mode of ignorance. Parikirtita, has been declared. Now, Lord Krishna is saying here is that prescribed duties should never be renounced. Such deluded renunciation is said to be in the mode of ignorance. So he's very clearly stating that the duties, they do not have to be renounced. And in other words, if you look at it, Bhagavad Gita is actually a call to action. Contrary to popular belief amongst a lot of people, that Bhagavad Gita is refraining us from action. Okay, we are supposed to live. We are not supposed to become sannyasi and stuff like that. It's a call to action. Arjun was saying that he wants to run away. Why to take the blood of his relatives on his head? Rather, he should go to a forest, and if God realization is the aim, that is what he should be doing. But Lord Krishna is telling him, you are just fooling yourself. You'll be neither here nor there. And if you run from the world, you shun or turn your back towards your prescribed duties, then it's not going to be good. And that's what Lord Krishna is reiterating here as well, that those duties, they should never be renounced. However, duties are subjective, and that is what we are going to discuss today. They are subjective based on what state of life you are in, what station of life you are in, and based on the spiritual trajectory, where you are on that graph, it can vary. And that is what we are going to talk about. And furthermore, he goes on to add that this deluded renunciation, it's said to be in the mode of ignorance. So deluded renunciation means, oh, there is so much of misery in this world. I will become a Babaji, I'll become a sannyasi, I'll just leave everything, moh maya. All that is deluded, he says. It's not born out of enlightenment or proper understanding of the deeper spiritual concepts. It's like running away, escapism. And he is warned very, very clearly against it. Okay. So, like I said yesterday, we were discussing renunciation is done from a position of strength, not from a position of weakness. Similarly, a true renunciation, proper understanding of renunciation is that there is neither happiness nor misery in this world. If we renounce this world, saying, oh, there is just too much of misery and I just need to do something else, that's not a proper understanding. That's just running away. Anyways, let's get started with today's discussion. So, what is proper and what is improper? Let's get started with that. So in this one, Lord Krishna is saying that renouncing the prohibited actions, and prohibited is something which is not validated or not recommended by our scriptures, and unrighteous actions is proper. That is proper if you renounce that. Something is said that if there are panchapaps, stealing, gambling, drinking, and there are 5 those things, if they say they are prohibited, and if you don't do that, that's a proper action. That cannot be termed as improper. Like people say right and wrong, it's very individual, right? Something which is right for somebody might be wrong. These are common things people say. I've been part of that discussion. I still face that, right? All that stuff we say that because of our limited understanding, because we are scratching the surface. The true definition of, see, there's something called an opinion, and then there's something called the principle. More often than not, we are passing on our opinions as a principle, as if we know it all, as if we understand the complete truth, and we say, I feel, I think, and that becomes our truth. That's not the case. Need to have the humility to say, might be my opinion, I may or may not be right, but the scriptures, what I tell us, actually gives us an absolute definition of what is the underlying principle behind anything. So proper thing is when you renounce things which are prohibited, that action is called proper. And on the other hand, renouncing prescribed duties is never proper. That becomes improper in that case. If what you're supposed to discharge certain duties is what we are going to look at as well, then if you renounce that, you turn your back towards that, that is called being irresponsible. You'll be neither here nor there. Further, renouncing desires for the rewards of action is also proper. So if you renounce that desire, that if I'm doing something, it could be an action, it could be an endeavor, it could be a charity, whatever. And when you renounce the desire for the rewards of action against it, that is also proper. That is the underlying theme or underlying recommendation or underlying injunction from Lord Krishna when he talks about Karam Yoga as well. Give up that desire, do it for the pleasure of God, right? Just give up that desire that it should happen like this, or only if it happens like this, I'll be happy, or it should only happen like this, kind of a thing, right? Like our mind tells us, because we think that we have a better understanding around, and we should get a proper outcome as our mind wishes. In fact, it is said that the worst thing that can happen to us, what is that worst thing that can happen to us, is if God were to fulfill all of our wishes. That is how our mind could be. If he would simply keep on fulfilling all of our wishes, it will be a complete mess. we are on a self-destruct path. We really don't know what is good for us. It's just like kids. If kids can continue to have their way when they don't have a good understanding, do you think it will really lead them to something greater and better? It will not. That is why parents discipline, mother disciplines a child, and same way God does not play to the whims of our desires. He disciplines us from time to time, and he knows what is best for us. And there are times when he does not basically things that do not appeal to our intellect at that point. Um, because God has the big picture, He will not give us something simply because we are desiring it, and that can happen as well. So this was proper improper. Quick on that. Now, furthermore, what are the prescribed duties? So we will touch upon that. So let's look at it. So the prescribed duties for us, the question is, why are they needed? Right? Why do we need the prescribed duties, so to say? Now, these duties are needed so that we can transcend from where we are to the next level. So if we are in the mode of ignorance, tamas, the duties would enable us to take the next step, which would be take us to the mode of rajas, propel us to action. That is the first consequence or the fallout or the byproduct of doing your prescribed duty. You will be shaken out of your lethargy and be propelled into taking action, which is rajas. So you've already transcended that guna, right? Somebody might feel like lying down on the bed the whole day, but when you understand you've got some responsibilities, right, to feed your family or to find a job for yourself or to study hard, you shake yourself out of that. You force yourself, right, with a sense of obligation or a duty or a sense of responsibility, whether you are a student or an employee or whatever stage you are in. So that itself takes you from tamas to rajas. And furthermore, as your consciousness starts improving, you start understanding the bigger principles around it, right? We think about ethics, what's a good way to operate. We have to earn our paycheck. We have to be a good student at this station of my life. This is what I should be focusing on. So just the sense of responsibility has taken us from tamas to sattva. So that is why the prescribed duties are very, very important for us in life. And let's look at the prescribed duties. What now, abandoning them is an erroneous display of foolishness, and it is completely born out of ignorance when we abandon those. Now, God, if we were to simply do our duties with a bit of an understanding, he's taking care of, even for the other species, he'll take care of us as well. They say for do roti that we need, right? Nobody's going to be uh, you know not get those two rotis for their survival. Not possible. But if you have decided not to do anything, then you can fall into those categories where you have to struggle even for that. So typically you don't abandon your duties. It's a display of foolishness. And Lord Krishna is saying that if you give it up in the name of renunciation, it's completely in the mode of ignorance. Nothing more foolish act than just giving it up. Right? People say, I'm going to become this. No, you don't become like this. It happens. People who are actually renunciates, it happens because they get a call of God. It's not that somebody decides tomorrow I'll be a renunciate. No, it just does not happen like that. If they are at the tipping point based on their past sanskars, then God will arrange for them to meet a guru, and then they are eligible for that kind of a thing. But majority of the people who simply renunciate just like that, if they're not there, it's basically a foolishness. They are trying to promote themselves to doctorate without having gone through school, college, or their undergrad. Okay, this is how it is. It's just not going to work. Lord Krishna is saying you have to go it in a proper manner. And one of the key things for you to gain that eligibility is to have gone through the process of perfecting your prescribed duties first. That will bring about a sense of discipline, that will bring about a sense of responsibility, and then you can go for the higher goals. If you put a kid in a doctorate class, right, he'll be like a deer caught between headlights. You know that look? It's a very interesting look. I really find that quote pretty interesting. So this is the importance of prescribed duties. So let's look at some of the prescribed duties and what categories do they fall. So this is a question we were going to tackle a little bit today, not the question yet. So again, now having come in this world, we all have obligatory duties. When we play a game, what do we need to do when we play a game? We need to two parts to it. You first understand the rules of the game and then play it according to the rules, right? And if you have to win, you have to play it better than the other. But here no winning losing game is there, because we are not competing against anybody but ourselves. But in order for us to comply to our obligatory duties, first of all, we need to have an awareness around that, and that awareness comes from seeking and having spiritual spark. Otherwise we can continue to live our life in ignorance and say life is good, like they say LIG, right? Life is good, just chill, why to take tension in life, right? And then they say, who has seen life after death, right? Kisne dekha hai? And Shri Maharaj very nicely explains, then we will not dekho, right? tab dekha nahi jayega, fir bhoga jayega, basically. So it's ignorance is not a bliss. It's important to understand the principles governing the creation and the very reason why we've been restored with human life and intellect, and then comply to those, not only comply to those, get better with it over time. Yes, Rupa, you had a question?
Yeah, Rupa ji.
Nitin ji, your voice is breaking a lot, Nitin ji.
Oh, is it breaking a lot for everyone?
It's for me it's breaking a lot, and even your video is getting paused sometimes.
So maybe an internet problem at your end. Is it the same thing for anybody else who would
It
like?
is fine for me, and I think Ramya ji is also saying for her it's fine.
So I think it might be an internet problem at your end. Baji,
Maybe.
if it's
Sorry for that.
no worries. Reminds me of a joke, right? This
Yeah.
guy goes to a doctor and said, my whole body is hurting. So he was scanned and everything came out to be fine. He said, no, but it is hurting. And then finally they figured out, the problem was in his finger. So anyways, I think it might be a problem at your internet end. So, but it makes me feel better. Okay, I was searching for my headphones and I can't find them. Made me really nervous. Okay. So, yeah. All right. I think there might be some problem at your end. Now, fulfilling them, it helps many qualities.
Maybe I'll rejoin again. Actually.
Sure, Rupaji. Now, fulfilling these duties, they help us develop many qualities. What are those qualities? Let's look at those. What Krishna is saying. Responsibility, as we spoke about, we get a sense of responsibility. We discipline mind and senses. You have to force your mind to do certain things. Your mind will tell you, no, take it easy, this, that. You have to discipline it, right? When we were studying, we have to discipline it. We have to go for that long-term benefits. That's when we think about it. And then your senses, it might be craving for something else. You'll say, no, I don't need to take that. If you ask some of the sports people and all, Virat Kohli, I was reading one of his interviews. He said that when matches happen, this guy was writing an article, Wasim Akram, that after India-Pakistan match, he saw him, people were gorging on tandoori naan and all that stuff. And this guy was having chanas, austerity, because he knows his shelf life as a sportsman is very limited and he wants to make the most of it. Even the models and actors, I have heard Hema Malini, she eats jalebi, once a year on Diwali. That's it, nothing else. So much of discipline they exercise just because they feel it is important for them, whether it's to stay healthy, look good, whatever the case may be. But it requires a certain level of discipline and austerity. And where does it come from? From a sense of responsibility that, I owe it to myself to be at my best, but to be my best version. And this is what I need to do. It becomes a commitment. So we are disciplining our mind and senses when we have the sense of duty towards. And that is why Lord Krishna is saying, this is a bare minimum thing you have to do. And the third one is the tolerance of pain and hardship. You are willing to take upon that. You actually take pleasure in taking that pain. When you have to, when you take it as a matter of your duty. If you ask a mother who's taking care of her ailing child or otherwise, she will not complain that I have to do that. It's a matter of duty. They will not feel the pain because they have to do it, and they feel good about it. If you look at some of the sportsmen when they are playing matches, I mean, this guy was cricketer. He was vomiting in the Chennai humidity, but he kept on playing because, and this more recently in Sydney Test, Ashwin and this guy Hanuman Vihari, I was looking at it, they were taking painkillers and just standing there to save the match. Why were they tolerating the pain and that hardship? Do you think it was hurting them? No, it was giving them a sense of satisfaction because there was a sense of duty. I have to do it for my country. So when we look at things as a matter of duty and are intellectually we are convinced it is important. Similarly, if we are convinced that as humans it is important for us at this stage of our life, taking upon that pain, disciplining our mind, sense of responsibility would automatically come. That is what Lord Krishna is telling us, right? So this is on the sense of duties that we spoke about. And if we abandon them out of ignorance or short-term gains, it leads to degradation of the soul. Why degradation of the soul? Because soul has to carry a subtle body along with it. Subtle body is the apparatus of our mind, senses, ego complex, which if you spoil them like a spoiled brat, will be a baggage you have to carry regardless. It's like taking upon a loan on your head. Sooner or later, you have to get rid of it. If you keep on taking more loan, you're creating more work for yourself. And the lesser loan you have on your head, the better off you are. So these small things that we, not small things, but anything that we're going to talk about, those higher principles that we need to align to, they are shedding that loan that our soul has already. Okay, and it's just freeing it up, lessening the burden, and making it easy for us. It's a freedom our mind enjoys. Trust me, people who are free, the shackles, when you start breaking from your mind, it is really therapeutic. You know that you have conquered it. Just imagine if you don't have to worry about what people think about you or say about you. What a huge freedom you have, isn't it? Most of the time we are troubled. What will that person say? What will they think? I need to live up to their expectations, or I need to look good or behave, people should think good about me. All these things trouble us. But if you enjoy that freedom, wonderful, nothing like it, right? So you're just helping yourself. That is why life transformation, when we start working on ourselves as matter of the spiritual progress, it is one of the most exciting project anybody can undertake in their lives. So fulfilling, so rewarding, that you will start enjoying the journey itself. Let's move on. Let's raise the bar now. So we were supposed to discuss what are my obligatory duties and can these change over time, is what we were supposed to discuss. So we'll touch upon that a little bit. Now, let's look at it as acts such as earning wealth. We all do. We all want to do that. It's important for us to be financially independent, be able to support the needs that we have in our lives, be able to support our family, to pay for our EMIs, take care of health, and so on and so forth. It's part of economics, is part of anybody's life, right? It's a fact of life. Earning wealth, taking care of family, right? It happens, especially if you have a larger family, whether it's your parents or your kids or otherwise. These are the regular acts that we do. Taking bath, eating, and all that stuff. They're all prescribed duties. You have to take care of your health, take care of your hygiene and all that stuff. Now, these are prescribed duties. Obviously, I'm not getting into the details of varnashram dharam, where as a student you have to do this, and then you get into a household life, and then all that is there as well. But I'm just talking about some of the stuff we all do in our day-to-day lives. Now, these acts are for an ordinary person, is what Lord Krishna is saying. Okay, the template life, so to say, I would say, right? The template life. Do this, study well, get good grades, get a good job, get married, have kids, take care of them, and then finally make a move from this world, right? In between, go for a world tour or whatever. So all that is fine, but this is called a template life. Lord Krishna is saying these are all for ordinary people. Now, there's both good news and bad news. Okay, I don't know which one would you prefer to hear first. The good news is that none of us can claim to be ordinary anymore. Okay, now you have no excuse to be ordinary. So as you start getting elevated, these obligatory duties, they change. Okay, this is fine. Earning wealth and leading that template life, living up to the expectations of your parent that, you know, you should do this and now it should have happened by now, and all that stuff is fine. This is all ordinary life. This is all template life. As you start getting elevated in life, these obligatory duties change. And these obligatory duties change because now you are becoming elevated. You are on the path of really investing in yourself. And that's when you start aligning to the higher duties, which are actually upgrading your soul. Not just living at a platform of your body alone, that I have to do this, I have to do this. My mommy did that, my papa did that, my grandfather did that, and so will I do it. Okay. And then I'll force my kids to do that as well. That is fine. That's ordinary life. For elevated souls, especially when you start evolving, investing in spirituality, they say these are the three tenets that we have spoken about, we've been talking about. And that's why I introduced Ishtoka as well, because we spoke about it and we've been focusing on the concept of charity. Sacrifice, charity, and penance, they all, we need to start aligning to those principles. Right? You start thinking big now. So the more we start aligning to these principles, then our soul will start evolving. Right? And if you look at these principles, we spoke about these three things that we get, right? Responsibility, discipline of mind and senses, tolerant of pain and hardships. Actually, we are taking these principles to the next level. These principles would still come in act, but you are actually exercising it to another level and you are taking it to the next level. You have to apply these principles even as a matter of doing your regular duties. But when you start aligning your principles to spirituality, you will get better mastery over your mind and senses. You'll get better mastery or better understanding, awareness of your responsibilities, right? And better management of understanding what hardships, how to look at hardships and pains in perspective. You'll get better at it when you start aligning to these principles, right? The life will definitely throw curveballs our way. It's never going to be a bed of roses. It's not meant to be honest. We should not get surprised when we say, oh my God, this happened. Actually, that oh my God should go away from your head over a period of time, because it is how it's meant to be. Anything can happen to anybody at any point in time, and we should not really be surprised. But the good thing would be when you start aligning to these principles, when you start building the spiritual assets or resilience within you, you'll be able to face it with confidence, face it with more clarity, and your rebound will be much faster. Right? So, in scriptures, it is say that life, when it starts throwing some curveballs our way, मूर्ख ज्ञानी भुगते ज्ञानते मूर्ख भुगते रोए. So when things don't go as per our plans, one who's foolish in this case is two categories: one who's ignorant, or one who is just invested in one aspect of life, those ordinary duties that we always do. They will cry. Even the wise man would have pain. It's not that they have overcome pain, but then they will deal with it with knowledge. That's the only difference. It starts happening, and over time that will also start diminishing. So this was the concept. Now, when we talk about sacrifice, charity, and penance, right, the higher principle around it is these have to be aligned with God. Okay, and this is a beautiful shloka 9.27, in which Lord Krishna is saying, Yat karoshi yadnasi yajjuhoshi dadasi yat pasyasi kanteya tat kurushva madarpanam. That whatever you do, whatever you eat, offer, oblation, bestow as a gift, austerities you perform, do them as an offering to me. So he's giving you a principle around it. So when you start aligning your austerities, like now you say, how do I align it to God? So let's go back to this slide. You do charity, you do it for the pleasure of God, not because I want to feel good. That I is only going to give you Sattva. You're still not gone to Shuddha Sattva as yet. I will take you to Swargalok, meritorious deed, your ego will remain, right? And then it is selfish. You want to feel good. There is an I there. I want to feel good. You do it for the pleasure of God. Sacrifice, when you do it for the pleasure of God, that God has bestowed me with the music. Okay, and if I do the sacrifice, if I perform required austerities, like getting up, working on my skills, like Virat Kohli example I'm giving, right? Everybody is endowed with the music. So it said that God endowing us with the music is, or a particular talent or gift is his gift to us. And then realizing that and being able to serve back is our gift back to him. But the problem is we don't even understand what is the music we have within us, because more often than not we are guided by people. This is what you should be doing, this is what you're good at, this is how life should be. But few people, when they start having awareness and God's grace and a lot of factors, they start having that clarity. And if you are able to come closer to the talents that God has bestowed us, and we start discharging or utilizing those talents for the service of God in some form or manner, that's the best thing we can do in our life. So if you're good at singing, you can sing for God. You're good at writing, you're good at technical skills, you're good at Instagram, you're good at creating reels, everything can be directed towards God, right? So that is the beauty of the path of devotion, that any skill that we bring to the fore can actually be dovetailed towards God and his service. So if it starts making an impact to somebody's life directly or indirectly, because we are utilizing our skills to the best of our ability, and at least making an intent towards that, it's not just limited to my enjoyment alone or for my vanity alone, that starts making a lot of difference. God says you continue doing what you're doing, right? Arjun, what did he do before listening to Bhagavad Gita? He was supposed to fight a war. What did he do after listening to Bhagavad Gita? He fought a war. What changed? Thought process changed. The reasons, the motivation for which he was fighting, where his mind was before and after, that changed. So act doesn't have to change. It's just the consciousness. And God is saying, just start directing it to me. It's like doing the job of a fire. You put impurities to fire, it becomes pure. So if you're going to put your own thing to everything, that I'm doing it, I want to do it for this and this reason and that stuff, you're still dabbling in those three gunas, Rajas, Sattva and Tamas. At best, you can get to Sattva, right? If you want to donate your organs as well, why are you doing it for? Are you doing it for the pleasure of God? Right? If you have to do it for the pleasure of God, the only duty he has given in this world is to purify our mind, right? And then the Yamaraj will say, we sent you to purify your mind became even more dirtier, and the best thing you did was donated your liver. That is fine. Let me give you a brief stay at Swargalok and then go back again. Right? So we have to look at the higher principles. Why are we doing it? Something. Am I doing it for my own sake? Does it make me feel good, or am I doing it for the pleasure of God? But how do we know what is good for the pleasure of God? We have to understand the higher principles around it. So everything, if you think simple yardstick, somebody asks that, okay, if I do that, I lead a very simple life. I don't hurt anybody, honest living, and I do this. I mean, what's bad and what's harm in that? There's no harm in that. But then are we aligning to the higher principles around it? Anything that we do, is it helping us cultivate love for God? Is it helping us cleanse our mind further? If the answers are yes, we are on the right track. If the answer is no, we are putting more colors of Maya in our head, right? Even if we are leading a very simple, normal, regular life and indulging in day-to-day stuff like people do, and not harming anybody, not thinking bad anything about anybody, earning our money honestly, is that good enough? Yeah, I mean, it's decent enough, but not good enough. We have to understand the higher principles and align to them, because that is the only way we can cleanse our mind. And we have to align to the shloka with Lord Krishna. He's giving us formulas from time to time, that like to a sacred fire you offer an oblation, and whatever you offer, that becomes pure. So then whatever you do, when you start offering it to me, it will start getting purified, and you will directly reap the benefits out of it. That's what Lord Krishna is saying in that as well. So with that, let's get to a bit of a discussion around it. As you see, it's not a moon, it's not a football either, it's a bubble. So the question I want to pose is, for a bit of a discussion, is there an ongoing need to expand our bubbles? We all have a bubble. We all carry a bubble. Why or why not? Do we think there's a need to expand that, or we are good if we are in a comfort zone and our bubble, that's good enough for us? Let's hear from participants and get a bit of a discussion going around this.
Radhe Radhe Ramya ji.
Radhe Radhe Ramya ji.
Radhe Radhe, am I audible?
Yeah.
Audible?
Yeah. So I read in Swamiji's book that we all want to expand our bubble. It's because we are a tiny part of Krishna, the soul, and it is the property to reach the ultimate, to become like God, and God also wants us to become like Him. So we always try for the higher thing. But just that the direction is wrong. But we always, if once we get some money, maybe we look for more money or that. But it's not about more money, but it's we look for for the perfection, for the opulences like God. But without cleansing our mind, sometimes the cleansing of mind is essential, and we expand our bubble. That's our property, our innate nature.
Beautiful point.
That's what I know. Okay.
Very much aligned to the scriptural principles, right? You got into some of the philosophy around why we have an innate desire to become bigger, better, right? That's because we are part of that ocean, and until we become ocean-like, we'll not be satiated. So yes, there is an inherent desire for us to expand, and that desire is actually leading humanity forward as well. If you look at it, right, the economy, the world GDP, it keeps on increasing. The stock markets, they keep on breaking the new indexes. The companies, they want to become bigger, better. There's an innate desire for that. Now that desire is basically is innate. That will remain. It's just a matter of channelizing that. Great point, Shri Ramya ji. I can see Preeti ji. Yes, please.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe Preeti ji.
Radhe Preeti ji.
Radhe Radhe everyone. Very well said, Shri Ramnaji and Nitinji, both of you. I would just add one small point that you just a few days back you mentioned reciprocation. So all that we receive from God in one way or the other, we make it reach to others. And if we expand, that's a sign of growth.
Beautiful.
So in case we need to grow, we need to expand. That's it. I mean, I cannot put it better than this. Radhe Radhe.
True, it's part of growth, and growth is good, right? Growth is good, and yeah.
Reciprocation also. I mean, that's how. What will we give back to him? Does he need anything? Is there a way we can't make a courier parcel or something, to reach that to him? So.
Beautiful points. Yes, to reciprocation, it's a matter of gratitude as well. And then otherwise we become, what do you call that? Very super selfish, right? Not acknowledging that, and reciprocation has to be there for all the things that we've been bestowed with, right? So beautiful point. If you think it's a very deep, very deep thing to understand, actually, truly. Other thing is, all the concepts that we are talking about, they have to be done in letter and spirit, both. Let's look at, like, for example, we are talking about sacrifice, and these concepts keep coming up, like giving away, being minimalist and stuff like that. They really have to be, we have to over time get better at really thinking deeply about it, and being able to implement it as well, to reap really good benefits out of it. And yeah, I think as we gain more awareness, we will get better at all these concepts as well. So great point, wonderful points, Preeti ji. Yes, I can see a few other hands.
Surender ji has also said that bubble of bhakti surely needs to be expanded, involving surrender.
Yes, Surender ji, live up to your name. Very nice. Yes. So this bubble, let's hear from a few other participants, and then I'll touch upon this a little bit as well. So I always like to map it to some of the economic principles around it. Like, for example, if you have money lying in your bank, okay, beyond a point, if you don't invest it, inflation will beat it. So it's important for everything to be invested properly, so that and similarly in our lives, if we stay stagnant, life will wear us down. and it will degrade us. So we have to keep raising that. The universe pushes us actually to expand our bubble. If you refuse to for some reason, then life will start teaching us all the lessons, right? This is anyway called the University of Hard Knocks. Okay, quite a few other hands are raised. Let's hear from them as well.
Yeah, Aarti ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Aarti ji.
Radhe Radhe, everyone. Nitin ji, Radhe Radhe. What I feel is just like God treats us all alike, in the same way, we also have to consider Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and we have to see God residing in everyone, and it is not a boundary that this is my family, not limited, the entire family belongs to the Supreme Lord, and we are the children. Gradually, by doing things internally for whosoever we keep in touch, that will expand the bubble.
Very true. Beautiful point. That's a very good point you made. In fact, sometimes we give these excuses. Parents give that, grandparents give that as well, right? In this little baby, we see God only, right? Bache are form of God only. Bhagwan ka hi swaroop hote hain, which is a good argument, but do you really see God in them? You just see your grandson or your kid in them, right? If that was the case, you will see God in all the kids of all the world. Is that the case? No, that's not the case. So we really have to think deep about, what we think, what kind of knowledge we have activated in our head. That'll put things in perspective. So yes, when we start expanding our bubble, we would actually start seeing everybody with the same lens. That is the avastha of Hans and Paramhans. We can see divinity in everybody. Then that compassion, that love, that intensity that you feel for one will come for everyone. But now, right now, it's very selective. For my kid, my son, my daughter, my family, that intensity is way too more than you would feel for anybody else. That itself is a mahak of that our mind is very, very conditioned at this point. That's very simple test, right? The way we feel for somebody near and dear one, do we feel the same way for others? No. Spirituality tells us actually, though it's not that you start feeling intensely for everybody. Rather, it says you feel exactly the same way as you would feel for your neighbor's son. Spirituality, the same emotion should be there. We don't feel that, right? We say, oh, wow, oh, really it happened, but are you truly feeling that? No. And spirituality says, just extend that, get that understanding, not that you become irresponsible towards that. You still do what you're doing, but look at it in perspective. That's all. Yes, let's hear.
Radhe Radhe, Pragya ji.
Radhe Radhe, Nitin, and Radhe Radhe, everyone. Ramya ji's point and the topic reminded me of Swamiji's divine laws, 7 divine laws to awaken our best self. So just a few lines that I remember. One is a quote from Bhakti Shatak. Brahma brihatvat as bada जाको आदिना अंत राधे राधे बड़ा बृहंत्वत अस अरुण अरुण करे अनंत राधे राधे. God is infinite and the all-perfect being, and being a tiny part of him, it's very natural for us to desire to be perfect. So God is one who is infinitely big and who has the capability, or through his saint, to make us big like him also. And therefore the desire in all of us, in all living being, to awaken our best self is not an egotistical craving, rather it is what God desires from us. So this topic, expanding the bubble, yeah, all of us, every living being has this desire, just because we are part of that all perfect God.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you so much for bringing it from Bhakti Shatak. Always a pleasure to hear those, and I think you know them like the back of your hand, which is wonderful. Great. Let's continue with that discussion. Before that, I wanted to really say my heart gratitude to everybody who have chimed in generously for the fundraiser that we are having. It's a drop in the ocean we are trying to fill, but everything counts. Like, it reminds me of that story of squirrel. When Ram Setu was being built, the squirrel was running around and putting pebbles, here and there. And monkey said, "What are you doing? You're just, stopping our path. You'll get hurt." And then squirrel continued to do that, those pebbles and sand particles all the way to start putting in. And then one of the monkeys, it became upset, it threw it like this. And then went to Lord Ram. Lord Ram picked it up and he said, what the squirrel is doing, putting those pebbles and sand, is actually what is binding these rocks together. No act is insignificant. And then he put his fingers on top of the squirrel. And if you see, all the squirrels has those 3 lines. So that is a beautiful story. So whatever little we are trying to do, actually it matters a lot, because it's done with a lot of love, affection, and the belief that it is going to make a difference. So I really want to thank every one of you. Within a week, we are able to raise about $3,500, which is a lot of amount I was seeing. Means a lot, actually. So thank you again. Heartfelt thanks to all of you. This will continue, and I'm sure we'll be able to contribute a little bit. But I really wanted to express my heartfelt gratitude to all of you who've been able to chime in there. So let's get back to our discussion. Yes, so the bubble aspect of it, let's hear from other participants as well.
Padmanji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. This is what I feel. It's conditioned in us. Our innate tendencies are conditioned, just like we are conditioned. Our nature to be part of the whole is conditioned in us. We might not experience as much as we are actually transforming ourselves from within, and we might not even sometimes see how the other person or situation is actually transforming in their own sense. But I think if you bring that humility and humbleness to see that we are all in progress, that brings a very sense of a higher purpose and responsibility to your own existence, and how you think and how you respond rather than reacting, and how much you can give back and what you're willing to give back. And not that you want to only give to your own, but your wings will spread and you are able to embrace other people with love and compassion. The more you do that, the more bubble that you want to thrive and you want to expand, you would see that happening. And I think we all have their own paths. And I think if you change the flow of the energy behind our intentions, we all have it. We're all driving through it. I don't think nobody is not going through this process, but that rewiring process and the reconditioning process, where you go back and trace your steps and actually rechannel that energy behind those desires and intentions and give it a higher purpose. The path, probably the process will be much faster than where we were before, but I feel like everybody is driving towards that path. That is how God has designed. It's just like the river will eventually flow into the ocean. It has to flow into the ocean. When we unveil that shields that we are wearing, and the situations will do that. Those are the opportunities. People and situations are the opportunities where God is bestowing us with, hey, take this opportunity and unveil and change your flow of thought and energy, and we will move much faster than where we were before, I think.
Great, that's true. God is there to assist us and do the course correction along the way for us as well, as long as we are trying to surrender to Him and drawing upon His grace. Great point. And as we keep on expanding our bubble, our obligatory duties also start changing, right? You start aligning to higher duties, not just the mundane duties. That is the other change that happens, because God is saying, if you're leading a mundane regular life, that is for ordinary people, that anyway we have been leading. But once you have started understanding the higher principle, because of God's grace, because of the fact that you've gotten that spiritual spark and the good fortune of getting the right knowledge, then obviously your duties also start realigning. You will see invariably you will start doing things more than what a normal mundane person in a mundane regular life is doing. It automatically starts happening. You'll realize that. You'll getting involved in satsang. You'll be hearing more of good lectures. You will be investing time in satsangs. You will be doing sevas. That means you are already started aligning to those principles. That means you've already taken that path of evolution beyond mundane. And that is why I brought this shloka. It's a very important shloka. These obligatory duties, it's a self taken upon obligation at that point, right? And then that will start giving you much more satisfaction and bliss for sure. Otherwise, regular life will go. If you still God, you will not get a gold medal for the fact that you were an outstanding. You will get some kind of a meritorious deed for sure, but it is also short lived. End of the day, the real thing that matters to us is how much did we move the needle when it comes to developing devotion for God, love for God, and did we move the needle when it comes to purifying your mind? If we have, yes, you'll get a lot of red carpet. If we have not, it's a failure, I would say. What have we done basically in this life? Coming here and doing the regular stuff, and I mean, it's good, but not good enough. From a spiritual standpoint, you are still not done yourself a huge favor. It's like wasted opportunity, yet again, wasted opportunity. Again, my favorite example is used to say that it's like God has given us engine of a Ferrari, right? A car of Ferrari, and all we did with that was doing groceries throughout our life. Okay, we could have done much more than that, and that is what human life is. Okay, let's hear. I can see a few other hands.
Should I quickly make announcements first?
Please make the announcements, and please fill out the feedback tracker as well. That will be good. And yes, Sandhya, go ahead, and then we can conclude our discussion quickly.
Yeah, so feedback tracker, its link is posted, so you can put your comments, feedback, questions. The first announcement is about grand opening of Center for Indian Culture and Education. And this is going to happen from April 22nd to April 24th at the Radhakrishna Temple. And then we have right now ongoing Navratri celebrations, Chaitra Navratri celebrations. And tomorrow there's going to be Mata Ki Chauki. On Saturday, there is Durga Ashtami and Sankshipt Ramayan. And on Sunday, there is Ram Navami celebrations. So this is going to be online as well as in person. So please make sure that you attend. And then finally, we have the camp, the spiritual retreat and family camp, which is going to be from June 24th to June 30th. And for this, I think the deadline for early bird registration is Monday. So please make use of the opportunity. And that's it. Now we can get to the questions.
Right, and Swamiji's keynote is going to be addressed through CIC building. So I'm looking forward to that and meeting him in person in a few days' time. So
yeah,
you are in Dallas, Sandhya, you as well. You'll get lucky to meet Swamiji.
Yeah, really looking forward to that.
All are looking forward to that.
Yeah. Okay. Radha.
It's a request actually that participants, they want to see your reel in long hair, not tied hair. Okay, so I look forward to that. I'll reach out to you for Bhagavad Gita session. All right.
Rahul ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Starting on a humorous note, I remember in early 90s or in the earlier in before 2005, I think there was an ad in India: eat, sleep, drink Coca-Cola. So now we should replace that Coca-Cola with Sri Krishna. That is what you were referring in 9.27.
Very true. Very true. That's a good analogy you bring in. So I'll turn it up, and maybe I'll put it in one of the sessions as well and give you credit for that. Okay. Very nice.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Great point, Rahul.
Annapurna ji, Radhe Radhe.
Yeah. Okay. You know, I just want to say that we are a fragment of God, and He is our Father, and He wants to give His inheritance to us, you know, divine bliss and divine knowledge, divine love, and everything to, you know, qualify for that, you know, we need to expand our bubbles, you know, sacrifice and charity and, you know, seva, you know, charity, seva, surrender, you know, purification of mind. And, you know, as a principle, we know that our love is not complete unless no worship is complete without sacrifice. So we have to sacrifice, tan, man, dhan. That also we have to, that way also we had to expand our bubbles, because we have already trying to become elevated souls, that should become our duties,
Very true.
responsibilities.
Beautiful point, Annapurnaji. I think you summed up really well what we have been discussing. So beautiful point. Thank you so much for that.
Suresh ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Suresh ji.
Radhe Radhe, sir, and everyone. Sir, though I may not answer this question, but have one question with you.
You can just
so,
call me. You not
sir,
you can just
sir,
call me.
Sir, is it audible?
Yeah.
What, sir?
You can just call me by my name, so that should be okay. Yeah, please go ahead, Suresh.
Yes, yes. Sir, being a student, this question is recently somewhat creating confusion in my mind, and it's related to my career choice. And this is related to with the psychology of the mind. So I'm asking you, sir, presently I have two choices of becoming either an engineer or doctor. But I have a problem here is that it's for me, it's easy and I have interest to learn and read biology. But I have somewhere that fear of becoming a doctor. I have this fear in performing the activities of a doctor. So, and when I come to this engineering, though I have not any fear, but it's for me somewhat difficult to understand. So I'm getting a confusion either to choose of becoming a doctor or an engineer, to face the fear or become an engineer. So I'm getting a doubt with it. So what is your suggestions? Thank you.
You love something, but then you have fear there, right? But the other thing you find difficult, but at least you have a fear, huh? That's pretty interesting. Okay. Engineer, doctor, anyway, I mean, I'm not the right person to give you that advice because I picked up engineering all for wrong reasons. But let's have an offline conversation on that. I would like to understand a little more because at the end of the day, we have to align to something that comes naturally to us. Where is the fear stemming from? See, the most fearful thing for a patient would be to have a surgeon who's fearful. Okay. So I will not mess with human lives, but that fear might be irrational too, right? It might be a concoction of your mind. If you're good in biology, it's better to align to something that you're good at. Like there is a concept in management which says work on your strengths rather than trying to repair your weaknesses. Right? The odds of us succeeding in life are much more when we start first knowing our strength and then working on those. That's very important. Right? In spirituality, at least in material things, I'm saying in spirituality, you have to understand weaknesses.
Yes, sir, but with fear, is it possible or not? I'm getting.
So you have to get to the cause of what is fear. What basically is it that you saw some dissection in one of your labs and that makes you? Let's talk about it. So
No, sir. Actually, from childhood, I am a bit feared of these lizards, cockroaches, and blood, and so I don't know how it came.
Dr. Sudhir or somebody can advise you. Is there a possibility you become a doctor and not have to perform any surgery and not have to see any patients, maybe a back office job? I don't know. So let's talk about it because your odds of if you love something or maybe if you think you will not be successful just because that fear is overpowering or too dominant in you, that might be a different discussion, but it's definitely not a 2-minute conversation. If I were to simply say, okay, what one should align to, definitely go with something that comes more naturally to you, right? A cricketer becomes a cricketer because they know that's something they're good at. If cricketer becomes fearful of playing a World Cup and he say, I'll play only IPL, then it's a different matter. But yeah, you fill in the attendance tracker. I'll give you a call. We can have an offline discussion on this, or maybe one of them. So let's continue with our discussion, or some participants can help you maybe.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries.
Among participants, Hedarji says research in medical field, and Kumarji funnily said to commerce. And I think he has raised hand. If he has raised it in this context, I can just unmute him. Radhe Radhe Kumarji.
So maths and biology you said, and Kumarji is saying do commerce. Okay, take up a.
When I was in India, you were given two options, right? The third option was slightly different, but you do engineering, or you do you become a doctor, or you're no good. I know a lot of us have gone through that, right? If you didn't get into one of these things, an engineering college or in medicine, people used to question, are you really good? And then, of course, came this commerce thing, right, where you could become a chartered accountant. So that was even tougher than even the other ones. But anyways, so I think you should see what is it that is making you select something, right? Because luckily, like I wanted engineering because I was not interested in medicine. I didn't think I could dissect a body, even frogs and those things. I was very queasy about it. So I said, no, I cannot do that. And of course, if I was becoming a doctor, I was going to do it for the wrong reasons, right? So engineering, I said any engineering, right? But I would have not been a good engineer, I might have been a good engineer, but not my interest. At last, God kind of guided me towards computers, which is what I like, which is the only thing I can do. I would have not been a good electrical engineer, like not the best, right? So I think you should see what is the reason why you're trying to select something. If you're thinking that doctors make a lot of money, that's not the right reason. Doctors have to have service.
It's sweet you not with my reason. Just to serve the society.
Yeah, you have to have that very much, because it's a great thing to be a doctor. And in India, you're treated like God, right? Here, sometimes like dog, but most of the times, in India, I've seen that happen. And even bad doctors are treated like God, right? So you have to really look at what is driving you, and doing the right thing. So
Yeah, so Sumesh, you got a professional consultant, Kumarji. I'll patch you up, and I'm sure you'll get answer to the dilemma that you are facing right now. But yeah, it's a tough one. You'll have to take a call on that. And end of the day, if you have to serve God, you have to go with something that you're good at. So, or do commerce, like Kumarji said. So that might make your life a little easy, right? Let's do something third thing that you're neither good at or not bad at. Start from scratch. Okay, let's quickly hear from any participants that we have. I can see a couple of hands.
Yeah, Sudhakar ji, Radhe Radhe.
1 minute each, maybe. We'll wrap it up before 10:15 today.
Radhe Radhe, Nitinji. It was a nice session. Just I was trying to look for the prescribed duties in the Bhagavad Gita. If you can just help me, what are exactly the prescribed duties for the mentioned as per the scripture? Can you give some reference?
Sure, I will give you references. We put it in the attendance tracker. In fact, we've gone through this topic in chapter 2 in details. That's how Lord Krishna talks to Arjun initially. He starts with his prescribed duties of being a Kshatriya. You are a Kshatriya, your first and foremost duty is to protect. And that is how he starts. And then he starts on taking him from duties. There are two categories of duties: Aparadharma and Paradharma. Aparadharma is at the platform of a body. I am a Kshatriya, I am a Brahman, I am a Vaishya, I am a Shudra, I am a bachelor, I'm in a Brahmacharya, part of it, I am a householder, now I'm in a sannyas. So all those are at the bodily platform. And then comes the duties of the soul. So I'll give you the references. If you fill in the attendance tracker, I'll send you some of the references. That way you can revise that. I will bring it in one of other sessions just to do a recap and refresh around that. So duties for a bodily platform and duties at a soul platform. And Lord Krishna starts by calling him Kshatriya, do our duty. He said either you will be killed, then you go to Swarglok, or you will win, then you will go to become a king and enjoy the opulences. So start off with your prescribed duties at a bodily platform, and then he starts taking you to the deeper concepts. But for 90% of the people, because we think of ourselves as a body, I'm so and so, my name, my designation, my stature, whatever we have, those prescribed duties become very incumbent upon us. But great question, Sudhakarji. I'll send you some references for that.
Shruti ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Sandhya, Radhe Radhe Nuttan. So, why do we need to expand our bubble? So I used to wonder, if you are living in a simulation or a matrix, then why are we here? What's the need? Why are we here on this earth? So what I realized is this spiritual growth is the only reason we have taken a birth on earth. So if we don't do that, our teacher, which is Maya, it's actually going to teach us a lesson if we like it or not. So it's better that we learn it in time. And if like how we do it is like you ask God to give you the courage to learn the lessons and just keep guiding us. And if we can't in some situations, just say your serenity prayers. Yeah.
Right. It's a great realization, Shruti. You are almost on the verge of becoming a Buddha. Okay, I can tell you. It's a beautiful realization. Maya will keep teaching us lessons until we learn it. And the only reason we are here is because God wants us to give all that He has. Like an indulgent father, He wants to give us all that He has. Right? Pragya was talking about that one who is great and who can make others great. And He has a desire to make us great only when we are ready for it. Okay. And that readiness aspect is what Maya is making us ready, because when we learn our lessons, when we start getting better, then Maya's lessons Maya will start cooperating with us as well. So beautiful realization. That is very true. Everything should be taken as an opportunity to evolve, learn lessons, and then that mindset will help us in good stead in anything and everything that we encounter in our lives. Nothing is a material reversal at that point. Everything is an opportunity for an inner growth. Everything is an opportunity to get one step closer to our rightful prize, which is divine love of God. So if you think about it, everything is actually pushing you there. It's a cause for celebration, not a cause for lamentation. Why did this happen to me in life? Oh my God, there's nothing. Everything is actually taking you one step closer, and you're getting closer to your destination, provided you look at it in perspective. Great realization, Shruti, and thanks for sharing that.
Padmaji, Radhe Radhe.
I'll just make this very quick. For Sureshji, I think, right? So this is his perfect situation of expanding the bubble. This is what we mean by expanding the bubble. Now you have to think spiritually. You have to put a purpose to your confusion. You have to give a closure to your confusion. And as a professor and teacher, this is a normal thing which happens. Like, I'm not very sure like the Indian system, but if I'm right, here, at least when they get to high school, they're really not sure what is that they have to do. So they find opportunities where they can do moonlighting. And I'm pretty sure if Suresh, I have not spoken to him, but he was in another session, in the morning gyms also. I think he had a similar kind of confusion. Nowadays, at least I think in India and even in United States, you can give yourself an opportunity to just go and do some moonlighting and be in those shoes and see how the day looks like. What is that they actually deal with? How can you face those fears and those kind of things? When you expose yourself for being in those situations, it gives you a very good picture of what you need to pick, in terms of like your career and stuff. And don't regret, in that moment, be convinced that this is what you want and do whatever is necessary to get to that stage and have that conviction. Maybe some companies will give them opportunities to do moonlighting and be there. Maybe some doctor's office will, allow them to come and do some observations and stuff like that. Be in those shoes and see what is that it really takes to be a doctor on a day-to-day basis, and it would help you with your confusion and gives you more clarity.
Great point. Yeah, you could actually simulate yourself and see whether you're good, or maybe some of those fears might not be something that you thought you cannot surpass. Beautiful point. If you were to really expand your bubble, okay, I will give you this advice. You become a professional consultant to people who are confused between picking up the profession of being a doctor or an engineer. Why don't you become a consultant for them? So that might help you clarify some of those doubts as well. But I'm just kidding. Let's talk about it. It's a very interesting thing. It reminded me of my journey as well. I was equally bad. So it was an easy decision for me because I was equally bad in everything other than playing cricket and tennis, which didn't take me too far anyways. Great. So good discussion. Tomorrow we have Mata Ki Chauki, but we'll have our session because it starts at 9. So I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and we will discuss something important. Just stay tuned what that important is going to be, maybe some interesting topic, or continue with 4.12. We have to figure that out. I'll let you know. But thank you again for an interesting conversation. We'll continue with our discussions tomorrow, and let's do our closing prayers. Who wants to take an initiative today?
Three people have raised their hands. Should we take all three or two now? So okay.
All right, let's do that and see how it comes out. Go ahead, please.
Om Sharve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sharve Shantu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Everybody, have a wonderful, great rest of your evening. And if you are in Dallas, do come over to temple for the Mata Ki Chauki. I look forward to seeing you between 6 and 8. And do plan to attend online as well, because it's going to be a great event. So strongly encourage all of you to attend this event and come in person if you are in or around Dallas. And look forward to seeing you there. And we'll be in time for session tomorrow. So thank you, everybody. Radhe Radhe. Good night. Have a blessed day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Radhe Radhe. Good night.
Good night.